Welcome to the Rebel Rebel. I'm your host, Michael Dargie. The Rebel Rebel is a show dedicated to creative rebels and entrepreneurs all over the world. It's a love letter to those people who think audaciously and act courageously in service of making the world a better and more interesting place.
Jazz Cow is about a jazz playing cow, and he leads a resistance movement. We were talking about how these superheroes, they always seem to have particular types of skills. And I'd watch the credits, I was like, I want to know all about this. So it really excited me, and you could barely pull me away from the TV because I loved it so much.
John loved football, but ended up loving cartoons more. From conception to credits, he found his life's purpose, including a character I've come to love called Jazz Cow. All the way from the UK, please welcome to the Rebel Rebel, the founder of QuirkyMotion.com, John Lumgair. Across the planet, literally, and across the pond, as they say, is John Lumgair. John, how the hell are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
And where are you dialing in from today?
From my flat in London.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Yeah, I was right. Across the pond. That's that old chestnut, as they say. So, John, you've got some really cool stuff going on, and I don't want to spoil it, but I will say that I've been excited for weeks about being able to talk to you about this project. And I wonder if you might sort of give us the lay of the land and tell the world about what you're doing.
So I'm working on an animated sitcom called Jazz Cow.
Yes.
And Jazz Cow is about a jazz playing cow. And he leads a resistance movement, or reluctantly leads a resistance movement of artists and poets and painters and creative types, musicians, and they're leading the resistance against algorithms and fake filters and the kind of technocracy and all of that. So that's the setup of the world.
My God, I'm so excited for this. When do I get to meet Jazz Cow?
Well, all being well, we so May the 1st.
May the 1st.
May the 1st is when we're launching on Kickstarter. So
Nice.
if we raise the money, then we will start production, and stuff will be released over time a bit, but most of it is going to be probably about a year after that.
Yeah, fair enough. So let me just front load this conversation by saying, where can people keep up with you? Because this will, I don't know when people will be listening to this. Could be after May, could be well before May, but where can they sort of catch up with you on this?
So at jazzcow.co.uk.
Got it.
Jazzcow.co.uk.
That'll be in like the show notes and wherever we put that, it'll be somewhere. Okay, so, well, first of all, clearly I'm thrilled by the idea of Jazz Cow leading the resistance against algorithms. It's the bane of my existence. I don't love it. And I like that there's, finally a hero for me to get behind, So I mean, I think it's obvious where this might have come from, but maybe could you tell me where the idea for Jazz Cow came from?
Well, it's got a bit of a weird history. So it was...
Of course it does.
Of course it does, yeah. So it started with a group of us just having a good laugh, and we used to actually have sessions where we would just spend the evening just laughing our heads off at everything and anything. And we were talking about how these superheroes, they always seem to have particular types of skills.
Right.
And why is it always that? And why is it always those types of animals? So we were like, well, what about a cow? And what happens if his superhero ability is playing jazz? And so that was the kind of original concept of Jazz Cow. And it started with just laughing and mucking around. But then Guy Chris, he started doing a drawing of him. And it kind of then got developed into a little short and went on a bit of a journey. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the influence of the kind of technocracy thing originally started with, this shows how old the origin of this was, because it originally started when Tony Blair had introduced, or was trying to introduce, a law that was around surveillance or something. Okay. In fact, it seemed really draconian. back then.
Well, yeah, don't you guys have like cameras everywhere in London right now?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
They're probably, I mean, obviously there's this one, but they're everywhere. They really are. And so that's where it originally started. But then when James Carey, who's a sitcom writer, got on board, he was really helping shape that and push that further. And yeah, the world we're surrounded by now, I mean, with all these technocratic, whether it's Elon Musk or Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg, all these people, they have disproportionate influence in our lives. So
it's time to level the playing field. Yeah,
and I remember I lost my phone a while back, and I then I thought, I like not having a phone. I don't want this. Couldn't get into my bank. I couldn't even use some of the software that I was trying to do for my work because it needed two-stage authentication.
Right.
And it's like, these people, they have you.
Right. And can you imagine if you don't have that? Like if you don't have the resources to have a cell phone, like you're at a huge disadvantage.
Well, actually, I had that with my tax return. They owed me some tax, but I couldn't get my money back because my phone wasn't up to date enough. It wasn't flashy enough in order to do the...
This is a crazy world we're in. This is why we need Jazz Cow.
It is.
Okay. So, all right. So let me go back further in time because time travel is one of my superpowers. I mean, clearly.
It's a good one.
Yeah, thanks. And if I could get you to take us back in history, back to, and I don't know when this might have happened to you, happened for you, I don't know. But what is it that sort of turned young John into, maybe he's an idealistic artist at school or a writer or maybe you're not any of that. Maybe you're like a footballer, whatever that happens to be. How did you go from there? What was that to here?
So as a kid, I actually loved football, but I soon realized I wasn't going to be a professional footballer, and actually that kind of stopped me down those tracks. But for the most part, I loved drawing. I loved watching TV. I got square eyes because I was just wanting to watch as many cartoons as I possibly could.
Yeah.
Not that they showed that many back then. And I'd watch the credits. I was like, I want to know all about this. So it really excited me, and you could barely pull me away from the TV because I loved it so much. And then it's like doing loads of drawings, loving to tell stories, seeing the drawings coming alive, and all of that. It kind of set me on this path that it's not a great one for making money, but it's kind of the way I.
Not unlike jazz.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably why there's an affinity.
Yeah. Are you a musician at all?
Well, I have a trumpet. I haven't given up, but I haven't played in about 20 years. So, but even when I've been poor, I've never sold it. So that's a sign that I haven't given up. I did pull it out just after lockdown because we had a little boy around our house and he asked me to play, and I did for him. My wife was angry because she said, for years, you've never played it for me, and then this little kid asks and you pull it out.
It's a child. It's a child. You have to do it. How are your lips after? Because I used to play brass, and I remember, like, if you don't have that practice, you can get them swollen up pretty good.
They weren't too bad. The biggest problem was the valves weren't moving.
Story of my life. So what happens when you ignore stuff for a little.
Yeah.
Bit of
One
time.
of these days I'll get back into it, but that
great.
time in the future where you have time.
Yeah. Yeah, that time. I can't wait for that time. It's going to be so good when we get there.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So I feel like I haven't explored your past enough yet. I mean, I get the fact that you're, here, I'll summarize what I heard. So you love football, but you decide that you're probably not going to be a professional footballer. You enjoyed cartoons, like drawing. and cartoons on the television. You whatever cartoons there were back in the day, you loved them. You loved the credits. You liked everything about it. Is that where the story ends with that? Did you go somewhere with your art?
So, within the British education system, at I don't know what age, you select subjects, and one of the subjects I selected was art, and then after that, there's a system in the UK. We have what's called an art foundation course where you do a broad range of subjects for a year, which is really fun, and I really enjoyed that. Learned a lot on it. Then I did a degree, which was not so useful. I did a degree in animation.
That sounds useful.
Well, you'd think so, except it probably shouldn't have been a degree. And then the things that made it a degree made it less useful for animation, and it was all too theoretical. And I wish I was able to have studied under great animators and really learnt the craft, and I didn't get to, or learn really good storytelling. But these days, there's so many opportunities to do that online for very little money. But back then, the course had a good reputation, but it wasn't really. It was more about the people I met. That was fun. So met some great guys there, friends who are friends today. And
are they part of the Jazz Cow universe?
So 2 of them were involved at the beginning, and I saw them recently. We caught up. We had a good laugh at the back of Jazz Cow, and they'd be involved in various little bits along the way, but they're not like super involved with everything.
A question. So when Jazz Cow uses his or her superpowers, I don't know, nor do I care about the gender of Jazz Cow, but what is this superpower? Like, is it just, a line in the universe by playing all the wrong notes at all the wrong time? Like, how does it work?
So he has this role of humanizing people, weirdly, because he's hybrid. So he's a cow, but he's in the human world. He's not quite in any category, and he plays the role of the figurehead that holds all the disparate groups together, because in the Bohemian Quarter where he lives, they're always bickering, they cannot get on, they're arguing about jazz genres, and they're arguing about this, that and the other. And he's like, when he's there, it kind of creates, they all respect him, and he has that effect of humanizing, because as with all of these algorithms and this technological kind of techno-feudalism, if you like, coming in, he's like, he's cultivating communities, cultivating the kind of humanity. But it's, and then, being able to play jazz is his mechanism for doing that. He does also free run, and he has really good hearing. So there's a few.
He did you say he's free run?
Yeah,
like a free range cow.
Oh no, sorry. Free run as in, or parkour. Do you?
Oh my God. Yeah, okay. So, I know parkour.
Because
my God, he does parkour.
Because I read that cows can't walk downstairs; they can only walk upstairs. So how do you get downstairs? Well, you parkour, obviously.
Oh my God, I couldn't love Jazz Cow any more than I do right now. Oh my God, have you pitched this to networks?
Yeah. So originally we had it was pitched as a kids show, so 10 minutes rather than the 20-minute adult audience, and we pitched it to Cartoon Network and Fox Kids, which is actually Fox Kids France, and Fox Kids showed some interest, and then they rebranded, they went down a different route, And it then ended up going into a drawer and staying there for years. And then my writer saw it and he was like, no, you've got to do this. You've got to. So then I reworked it, and then he came on board later and we reworked it. And then there was a guy took it round streaming services in America, and the feedback he was getting is that they're only taking stuff that's based on existing IP. So we could either write a book or a comic and then get that into, and then I said, well, what happens if we kickstart it? And he said, yeah, that could work. So that's why we're on that route.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I think that people should, if I was in charge of creative and content development, like in one of these studios, this would be something I'd be looking for. I don't know why they make that choice, why it has to be existing IP. I'm sure there's a reason for it. Maybe they know there's a market for it already, what the shape of the market is. But I think that
it's
taking
de-risking.
a risk. Yeah, but I think now's the time to start taking some risks, particularly with Jazz Cow people.
Yeah.
Like, come on. What are we waiting for? I can't wait for your Kickstarter to come out and to see some traction, because I think the time is now. The time is right for this sort of thing, in my opinion.
I hope so.
Yeah. You hit all the things that I look for in a creative project, something that is, mentally stimulating. It hits the zeitgeist. There's the things that piss me off. I'm like, oh yeah, like put the algorithm, Jazz Cow. And the fact that, he can do parkour. I don't know what else to say about that. It's outstanding. Oh,
there's not enough comedy that's commissioned. I feel like as I flick through Netflix, I don't see much in the way of comedy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, like, because I'm a big fan of BBC. I really do think when you compare it to North American television, there's so much more under the surface of BBC shows. I'm wondering, do they not have an animation thing? Could you is that not a thing you could do? Because I mean, we have CBC here in Canada, which is a little, I don't know. It's not as interesting, we'll say, as a BBC.
Yeah, BBC don't commission a lot that in terms of animation aimed at adults. They do commission stuff for children.
I think they're missing out.
And they also, there was, I've forgotten what I was going to say. There was something about, my brain's just gone dead.
That's all good. The BBC commissions for children's stuff, but not necessarily for adults, and certainly not, well, they do commission for adult stuff, but it's not adult animation. And I think that that's a huge misstep. I can't imagine why they wouldn't do that.
I think it's because it's expensive. I think animation is, I mean, when you compare to these huge Netflix budgets and things, it's not a huge amount, but and an episode of The Simpsons costs $500,000. So if you were wanting to get something made, it's not cheap.
Does it cost now an episode of Simpsons that, I mean, I don't know where that $500,000 would go to, because a lot of their assets are digitized now, and
but they've still got to animate it, which takes ages.
Yeah.
and the writing process.
Yeah, the writing process, I think, would, and the writers don't get paid enough, which is always a problem.
Yes. Yeah, it's all, since they're the backbone.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I guess, what's next as you ramp up for this Kickstarter? Like, what have you got in front of you that you've got to get done? Or let me ask you this question. What scares you about it?
The first thing is I'm scared that I'm not going to get the number, that I'll be egg on my face. I'll put all this effort in and then nothing will happen. That's the kind of fear that all the other fears will stem from.
Yeah. Do you have a number? Do you want to talk about the number?
So we're aiming at £60,000.
Okay.
Which is the minimum. And all the Kickstarter gurus say you should go a lot lower than, and then but I realized that if we don't that's the minimum we can make something on.
Yeah.
And so if we had half the money, what would we do?
Yeah.
We would just upset people and
yeah, you wouldn't get it to where I get to see Jazz Cow. And I need Jazz Cow. This is not a paid placement whatsoever. I'm just really into it. I get it and I want it. And I just, I just want to give you my money right now.
That's great. And if you know any rich people or a lot of not rich people, but lots of them.
Lots. You know what? Do we know 60,000 people that would give £1? Sure. Is this a thing? The world that we live in, if it's right, people will get behind it and be like, holy shit. I hope that people see what I see. I haven't even seen the stuff yet. I'm into the story. I'm into the possibility of what Jazz Cow could be. And I'm going to be ecstatic either way. Cause it doesn't even matter to me. Does he have a beret? I don't know. Does he smoke cigarettes? Probably not. That's not very PC, but maybe he does. I don't know. Is it a pipe? Does he like cappuccinos? I just want all this stuff I need to know. And all these other characters that exist in this world that you're creating, I want to know. And I want to, root for the good guy. I want to, stick it to the bad guy. I want to see bad guys maybe change over time. I want all of it. I want it all.
So do I.
Yeah. So that scares you, but is there?
I've got a spreadsheet of all the things I plan to do in order to promote it, get enough numbers behind it.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly behind on my spreadsheet, and I guess I'm scared that I won't hit enough things in order to. It all comes back to the fear of not hitting the number, but
yeah.
Yeah. I'm not. And one of the things I'm learning is how bad I am at chasing people, and
at chasing people.
Yeah. So you've got lots of people that you're doing. You're basically relying on favors until you've got money.
Yeah, right.
And so it's hard. It's easier when you're paying someone. You do this, but when it's lots of favors, you've got to be chasing people to do things, and they're usually keen, but they're usually busy with lots of stuff. So, and I realise I'm not very good at that. So it's been a learning curve.
Oh, that's good. Well, that's good though, right? Because you got to learn to get there. You got to have the stories to tell when you get to the other side. And every hero's journey, you've got to go through the crap to get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to learn. It's a journey in return. You've got to come back changed and share it with the world.
Well, it feels like that with 2003 was a really bad year for business for us. So it was the worst for many, many years. And so it feels like that's the dip. And then this is going to be going up from the dip, hopefully, to the...
Yes. So what do you do on the day-to-day?
So do animations usually for... companies. So we recently did something for an engineering company, which was their kind of corporate responsibility video. Do all sorts of different things for businesses, local charities, government, that kind of thing.
What's your tool set for animation?
As in,
what's the latest and greatest for? I'm guessing we're not doing paper cell animation anymore.
I wish. That would be so good if we were.
Yeah.
Most of it's a mix. So I use a program called After Effects, which is pretty well known, that I do a lot of stuff in. I use a program called Toon Boom Harmony, which is a Canadian company, actually.
Toon Boom
Harmony.
Nice. Okay. Go Canada.
And yeah, it's great. They spell color correctly, which is the only software company that I come across that does.
Yes, that's how we do it. That's how we roll in Canada. All the U's.
Yes. If you're going to correct the spelling of color, it should be CULO or CULER or something. Right. Not the way the Americans do it.
Yeah, it's weird. Americans are weird. Bless their weird little hearts.
So they're the main ones, but we all end up using all sorts of little things here and there.
Okay, cool.
Use a lot of Photoshop.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very cool. What is your the one thing that you haven't done yet that you want to do? And it doesn't have to be, animation or business related. I'm curious about John.
One thing in the world that I haven't done.
Yeah. Like this, you're just like, oh man, I really want to do this. Maybe it's playing Carnegie Hall with your trumpet. I don't know.
That would be embarrassing.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be something? It would be a thing that you did.
I could dine out on it for life. However, the worst person ever to play at Carnegie Hall.
Right. Yeah. Take a deep breath and lower your expectations.
That's a good question. It probably would be having Jazz Cow series being properly funded and working on that, which feels like going back to the same thing. Feels like I'm very unrounded when I say that.
Well, that's okay. I think that there's something else in there somewhere, and maybe we'll find it, or maybe I'll get a call being like, Dargie, we got to redo this episode. So I've got the answer, but let's go this way. Let's zig a little. So imagine are you in London proper?
So I'm in South London, Zone 3. So
okay,
that probably doesn't mean a lot. It's not central, but it's kind of in the middle.
Okay. So, I mean, old city, obviously, a lot of history, a lot of cool shops. And do you drink, are you a tea drinker? Are you a coffee drinker? Are you a beer drinker? Like, give me the context here.
So I occasionally drink. So when it comes to coffee, I drink coffee when I have meetings usually.
Okay.
And then when I don't have meetings, I don't drink coffee. And we have a lot of meetings in coffee shops. And so I drink tea occasionally, but I'm not I'm not massively into tea.
Okay.
I do drink beer, but not that often and not that much.
Okay.
I think I don't know anything about Canadian beer. But I know that British beer tastes a lot better than American beer.
Canadian beer does too. We have a lot of microbreweries now. So there's a lot of really, dark beer. Although people have gone on to a bit of a hops kick lately, where it's like, it seems like all the beers are super hoppy, but I like really dark, dank, almost sticky. I love Guinness, for example. That's my bar. And anything from Guinness lighter down to, I don't know, a red ale maybe. But anyway, the reason why I bring that up, why I ask that is I'm gonna use that for the sake of argument, because having a pint is ubiquitous with London culture, I think. So here's John, and he's going down the street, and he's on his way to his favorite pub, and John is sitting there thinking to himself, "Man, I really wish the world knew this one thing." What is the thing, John, that you wish the world knew?
What is the thing that I wish the world knew?
Yeah. It's like always tickling the side of your brain, being like, oh, like maybe it's a frustration. I cannot even believe that people don't love shawarma. I don't know. Like,
I'm probably going to sound like a complete weirdo, but I don't mind sounding like a weirdo because I am anyway.
Yeah. Lean into it.
But I'd probably going to say something religious. So I would say, it's how to not sound too technical when I say this, but it's that God exists in loving relationship with himself.
Okay.
So it's the Trinitarian idea of God, but often that's just seen as like a concept or whatever. But I think that love is actually at the heart of everything in the universe, and that God exists in that loving unity. So
that's lovely.
So that's a slightly more left field thing than you're probably expecting.
I love it. I think that love, as we say, love makes the world go round. Certainly love is, I think, omnipresent in the universe. And it is that one thing that allows us to take the next step forward.
Mm.
And I don't think you ever run out of it. It seems to be like an infinite resource.
Yes.
If you will. So I think that's lovely. I think that's really nice. I love that. That's really cool. Are you a well-read person, John? And by well-read, I mean, do you have books on the shelf that you go to? Oh, it's happening. I knew it. I knew it.
You see our messy flat.
My people. I love that.
I do love reading. I acquire books more easily than I read them.
As we all do, I think, in some way.
Yeah.
What is a book that has made a mark?
"100 Years of Solitude."
Okay.
Because it's just so creative, and it's absolutely bonkers. Can't wait for the Netflix adaptation.
Is it coming out for?
Yeah, it's supposed to be coming out in 2023.
Come on, Netflix, get on it. Check your calendar.
Yeah, so that, because it's really creative.
Yeah.
I'd probably throw in Brothers Karamazov as well, which, because it's just got so many deep and rich ideas. But yeah, they're the two that come to mind. Quite different novels. And I actually read more nonfiction than novels, partly because I read something and then I don't then read for a few days. And if I'm reading a novel, then I lose where I am in the novel.
Right. That's awesome. What sort of nonfiction stuff do you read? Like what keeps your interest there?
I'm just looking at the bookshelf. Historical, history type things. Ideas, stuff that's idea related.
Yeah. Very cool. That's really neat. If you, I'm okay, and this is a bit of a non sequitur, but I can tie it in somehow. Are you a Doctor Who fan?
Not a fan. I've occasionally watched it. I've not actually watched it, the new stuff at all.
Like not the David Tennant stuff. I don't know what the new stuff is.
Yeah,
like
the newest stuff I have not seen, but
gotcha.
Yeah, and the stuff I have seen, I've not seen kind of consistently in any kind of order.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not massively into it.
What is your go-to television? I mean, clearly maybe it's not BBC stuff. It's probably Netflix stuff. But what's on your binge list?
So there was a recent series. I mean, I guess it's not a go-to, but the thing that jumps to mind is a thing that we watched called Kaleidoscope.
Okay.
Because it was a heist that was all you could watch in different order, and that was kind of fun.
Oh, that's cool.
There are. I was rewatching Only Fools and Horses, which is do you know Only Fools and Horses?
No.
Oh, you're missing it. It's a British sitcom from the 80s.
Okay.
Maybe 70s, 80s. And it's about two brothers who are selling, basically they sell stolen goods, or goods of not sure where it came from, and they're just trying to get by, and it's just really well written. So yeah, I've been watching that on my iPad in bed sometimes recently.
Oh, right on. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a good show, worth trying to find.
All right, I will look for that. I'll put that on the list. I always like to ask these questions, just to get sort of the flavor of you. We can tell a lot from the stuff that you consume, and then I like this idea of some historical reference, and the fun and the I don't know, the energy and the passion behind some of the writing of the shows that you talk about. And I wonder how that gets synthesized out into what will become Jazz Cow. I don't keep coming back to Jazz Cow. Check the show notes for the links to Jazz Cow. So clearly you've had an interesting life so far. You've done some cool stuff. You get to work in animation as your day job, which is, I also know that it can be challenging when you're working in something that you love as a job, because there's a lot to do, and you gotta do this. So how do you keep the joy?
I don't always. when there's a project that just isn't finishing, or I remember doing a project, an animation for a call center. It was their award ceremony. I did not keep my joy through that. I thought, why don't they just divide up the money spent on this and give that to the staff, rather than who's the fastest to pick up the phone. It was just so soul destroying. So I didn't keep my joy through that. But I think it's one of the things I love is that I do stuff for different companies, so that it's not always the same kind of client or the same industry.
Yeah.
I've always got my own projects going on in the background. The next thing is always the most exciting thing, usually.
That is the way. Is there something after Jazz Cow in the books? Like what is your slate look like?
So I am kind of full steam ahead with Jazz Cow and haven't really got enough headspace for other stuff, although there's
I like to hear that, I will tell you.
kids comic that I've plotted it all. I've even worked out all the panels, and I haven't got time now to do that, but I'm going to finish that at some point because I've done the hard work.
Now it's time for the payoff.
And that's a treasure hunting comic for kids. So that'll be fun.
I love it. Is there any interactive in real life aspect to it, or is it all on the page?
It's all on the page, yeah.
Cool. So, one of the parts I love about the show, besides all of it, is I like the advice that I get from people like you for people that are about to do stuff or are sort of on the verge. Oftentimes I don't know if you ever watched Wile E. Coyote. I would assume you have. So that time when Wile E. Coyote steps off the cliff and all is right in Wile's world until he looks down and then there's the uh-oh sign that shows up. So what advice would you give to, we'll call them rebels in waiting. They're these entrepreneurs, or they're artists, or there's somebody about to take their next big step. And it could even be that they're established, but they're going to try something new. What would be the advice you'd give them?
I think one of the things that's always worth doing, I mean, everyone's always got friends or people they know. I would try to get advice from as many of those people as possible. Finding people to do it with. Doing things completely on your own is tiring and it's hard to keep going. But when you've got others around you, that makes things easier. But I feel like I'm Wile E. Coyote. I'm just bought my Acme explosives to do this thing, and I don't even know if it's going to work. And
you've lit the fuse.
Yeah,
you got your rocket skates on.
Yeah, so I'm there with the rocket skates, lit the fuse, and so I'm not sure. I don't know what advice I can give because I'm not yet moving.
Yeah, but you know what? You're in motion. You're there. You're headed towards it, right? You have a thing.
Yes.
And I'm pleased for you, regardless how it turns out. I'm excited for you, and I'm excited for the adventure you're going to have.
It's exciting.
Yeah. He says, convincing himself. Oh, John, this has been time well spent. Thank you so much for joining me.
That was a pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
I've been your host, Michael Dargie, and this has been the RebelRebel Podcast. It's a podcast for creative rebels and entrepreneurs all over the world. And hey, if you're a rebel or you know a rebel, why don't you head on over to the RebelRebelPodcast.com and fill out our guest request form. We'll get back to you within 24 hours, and maybe we can share your story with the world. Don't forget to like, share, or subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And thanks so much for listening. Until next time.